for more analysis, we can cross live to Filippo Dionigi, who's a senior lecturer of politics and international relations at the University of Bristol. Let me ask you, we've heard from Hezbollah, they vowed to respond to this, but what do we know about their military capabilities? What kind of response are we looking at?
Well, it's difficult to say. The military capacity of Hezbollah has been showed off in several forms of videos, speeches, and also through actions such as rocket launching and attacks on Israeli territory. We don't know exactly what we don't know about Hezbollah, and therefore what we really are going to expect at this point is difficult to predict. We know that Hassan Nasrallah, the Secretary General of Hezbollah, is going to talk tonight at 5 p.m. Beirut time. And at that point, perhaps we are going to find out a little bit more what is going to be the stance of Hezbollah towards this latest unprecedented attack.
And how can Hezbollah possibly organize itself now? I mean, what we can assume are quite key communications means, backup communications means have been severely destroyed. What comes next then?
Again, it's uncharted territory. It is true that the communication system for Hezbollah is a very important instrument. In 2008, there was a domestic Lebanese situation in which the then government has attempted to dismantle the communication system that Hezbollah manages secretly in Lebanon in order to communicate with its troops and its members. And at that point, the reaction of Hezbollah was extremely harsh, up to a point that the country was almost on the brink of a civil war, meaning that its communication system is a very important asset. The extent to which has been damaged by yesterday and the day before attacks is difficult to assess. We know that the pager system at this point has become obsolete. Yesterday, two-way radios were targeted. Apparently, also other devices were involved in the attack. And that means that, again, its communication capacity is probably compromised, at least for what is relevant for this type of aerial communication, at least, this type of telecommunication. We don't know. There are reports that says that there are other communications channels, but again, for Hezbollah, this is a significant blow in that sense. I want also to mention, in reality, what really we are witnessing now is also that up until now, the war that we saw between Israel and Hezbollah was relatively contained, and also particularly Israeli targets were mostly at the elite level and at the top level of the command in most of the cases. The past days, instead, we witnessed that at this point the targets are more in the rank and file capacity, military capacity of Hezbollah, meaning that also, the younger generations, the ones that have been were born and raised in the myth of Hezbollah invulnerability, have probably experienced a degree of lack of trust at this point towards the organization, which is the kind of confidence that Hezbollah needs to regain in order to continue this war, if that's what they intend to.
And a little earlier, we spoke to our correspondent in Jerusalem about the latest comments from the Israeli defense minister. What's your take on that? What does he mean by the center of gravity of this war is moving north?
Well, as we were hearing from your correspondent, the issue for Israel, the issue between Israel and Hezbollah is a long-standing one. It goes on at least since the early 80s. But at this point, in conjunction with the Gaza war, Hezbollah has entered the conflict into what they refer to as a solidarity war, as a way of distracting forces from Gaza and trying to wear out the Israeli military capacity. The result of it has been that the north of Israel has been evacuated, and tens of thousands of Israelis have been displaced by the north of Israel, effectively creating an empty area for the north of Israel, which has significant economic cost for Israel itself, but also in terms of political objectives. The Netanyahu's government is a government that tends to portray itself as the government that provides security, and obviously not being able to control that area and provide security in that area is a major defeat for Israel up until this point. So possibly the objective at this point is try to decouple the conflict in Lebanon and Gaza and try to focus more on the Lebanese front and try, therefore, to guarantee a degree of security in that part of Israel, north of Israel, so that the return of Israelis in that part will be possible again.
I just wanted to ask you very briefly, because we're running out of time, how do you think Washington feels about all of this? I mean, they've told Israel to avoid provocations, to avoid escalations, but, we've seen what's presumably Israel is behind assassinations of high-level commanders like Ismail Haniyeh.
It is difficult to say. The stance of Washington towards Israel at this point has been ambivalent. They claim that they want a diplomatic solution. They've also tried to negotiate a ceasefire in Gaza, which remains the key issue, because if Israel agrees to a ceasefire in Gaza, the northern border will also become quieter, because that's also something that that Hezbollah has said themselves. Again, their stance remains ambivalent. It seems to prioritize a diplomatic solution, and that's what Amos Hochstein has been trying to negotiate so far. But in reality, they don't seem to put as much pressure as you would expect towards Israel to achieve that diplomatic solution. Therefore, now they're busy with elections and campaigning, of course, which is a distraction. But again, if the United States wants to achieve greater results, it can, in fact, put much greater pressure on Israel to achieve that solution.
All right, Filippo Dionigi from the University of Bristol, thank you very much for your analysis.
Pleasure.